Good morning, everyone. My name is Jennifer Hutchins. I'm the Executive Director of the Maine Association of Nonprofits, and welcome to MANP Connects. Today, we're going to be talking about AI, efficiency through AI technology. And the first thing I want to just mention is this topic, MANP Connects, has always been since April of 2020, when we started during the lockdown of the early days of the pandemic, an opportunity for us to just come together as a nonprofit community in Maine and learn about things that are happening on the ground. What's going on? How can we share information? And how can we just find some solidarity with one another as we navigate the complexity of all the things that are going on? And guess what? It hasn't stopped, folks. We started this process back, as I said, in April of 2020. And yeah, there were some real-time emergency things going on, obviously, and a lot of questions about how to run our nonprofits and how to support our clients, our service recipients, and all the other related questions about who's going where and what do we wear, what masks do we wear, and how do we protect ourselves in our community. And we thought it was going to end, not necessarily the long-term effects, but certainly the emergency questions would start to taper off. And we found that it turns out that questions remain. And so we've been continuing to do MANP Connects with our community since that time. And we're in our fifth year, and we're doing it once a month, except we're taking a break for the summer months. But we're pretty much doing it once a month this year, and we're delighted to see so many of you on these Friday mornings to have these chats. So today I wanted to dive into AI, and I want to tell you that I'm not that comfortable with it. It's not something that I gravitate towards. I happen to have someone who lives in my household who works for a tech company and talks about it in a way that I tend to leave the room when the topic comes up, because it makes me nervous. There are ethical considerations around how it's used. There are climate considerations around how much energy it's taking up. The stories that I hear that are related to its use, frankly, they frighten me. And I recognize that I don't understand enough about that technology. So let me just say that today, if you're coming to this conversation with any questions around what is this thing, and I'm a little nervous about its impact, I'm with you. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation today, is because at the same time, it's here. And as we talk at the Maine Association of Nonprofits with our colleagues in states across this country, and also and me serving on the board of the National Council of Nonprofits, our colleagues are really starting to try to get their arms around what it means to have AI technology harnessed for your use in your nonprofit organizations. And I felt that it was just really responsible of the Maine Association of Nonprofits to open the door to a conversation and start learning together about what it means. And so that's what today is. We're going to be sticking to our usual time frame of 45 minutes. This is just the beginning of trying to get a sense of what this technology is and what it means for all of us. And so today we're going to be focusing on the technical, practical, early steps of what it would mean to begin to learn about what AI technology means for you. Those of you who signed up had some really great questions about specific questions about AI, ethical questions about AI. And I want you to know we may not get to all of them today, and certainly we won't get into those deeper ethical conversations today, but we do hear you. And we, as usual with MANP Connects, we will be following up both with a link to the video today, but also with a whole host of resources that both my partners, John and Ellis, in producing today's MANP Connects, will be sharing with you either in the chat as we talk or and follow up. So please know that we are here to learn with you and along with you as we get started on this journey of what this thing means. And thank you all for being here. It's really, we get so jazzed up by MANP Connects every time we do it. We get well over 100 people signing up on a monthly basis for MANP Connects these days. Before I go any further, I have to thank our committed longtime partner and sponsored Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare, which is a nonprofit organization themselves. And they and their team have just been fantastic partners with us in supporting the nonprofit sector here in Maine. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. I have two guests today, and one of them is Joshua Peskay. He's from RoundTable Technology, and he's going to come on in just a moment. But first, because it is such a complex topic, Josh suggested that we show this really short video that gives you an overview of the top ways that nonprofits want to think about using AI technology. So he's going to give us a nice overview in a video form. It's just 2 minutes long, so don't worry, it's not going to go on for too long. And then I'm going to stop and I'm going to bring Josh on live on camera, and we're going to have a deeper conversation about it. So hang tight while I myself try to use the technology in a way that makes sense for everybody. Here we go.
Nonprofit friends, my name is Joshua Peskay. Let's jump right in. I'm going to run down 3 low-cost, low-stress ways you can use AI that are tried and tested in the nonprofit trenches. Number 1, let the robot take the notes you already sit in enough meetings. So the next time Zoom or Teams opens, flip on Fathom, Otter, or Zoom, or Teams' own AI recorders. These AI note takers are an incredible resource, available low cost or free to almost all of you. It's so nice getting rid of all that, wait, who's doing what stuff? Safety tip, tell folks they're being recorded and park the transcript somewhere that meets your privacy rules. Done. Number 2, use an AI writing copilot, not a blank page open ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, or Google Gemini. Feed it 3 things. What it is you are trying to do, what role or roles you think the AI should take on, the audience for whatever it is you're writing. Hit go. In seconds, you have a first draft of a donor email, a social media post, maybe even the first chapter of your novel. Your job now? Review, revise, shape, then ship. No more staring at a blinking cursor for an hour. Safety tip, review everything before you send it. Number 3, train your team to treat AI like a thought partner. Instead of buying another shiny tool, invest in people. Show staff what AI tools you want them to use, how to work with those tools, how to validate AI output before sharing it, how to keep private data private. Teams that learn to collaborate with AI are already clocking 30 to 60% productivity gains. That's over a decade's worth of historical progress in one training session. Remember, AI isn't here to replace your people. It's here to give them superpowers and ease their drudgery so they can, save the world. Hello there, nonprofit friends. My name is Joshua Peskay.
Josh.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I am doing well, Jennifer. It's good to see you. Thanks so much for having
It's
me.
good to, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. Before you get started, I just want to give Roundtable Technology a shout out and share with all of our friends what good partners you guys have been for MAMP. What's it called? Full disclosure, Joshua and the company Roundtable Technology have been our IT providers for a number of years, and they're friendly and knowledgeable and responsive. So he didn't know I was going to give that little shout out PSA, but we are authentic, true, a friend. We like working with our friends, and so I wanted to give you guys a shout out. Hey, so let's talk and let me just start by Katrina in chat saying thank you, Josh, for highlighting investing in the people. Ending with that message was particularly helpful for those of us who are a little bit we're the sector that's all about the people, right? It's like we don't want to get rid of people, we want to take care of them. So thank you for doing that. And now I want you to explain that video a little bit. I thought some of the points you made were great, but I don't know. It also sort of felt a little bit like I don't know. I don't know. Something was a little off
A little
there.
off.
You want to tell me about that?
Sure. I imagine many of you have not heard the actual me speak yet, and probably look and sound a little bit different than what you just watched. That video, I'm guessing most of you figured it out by the end, was not me, was not written by me, was not voiced by me. That was AI avatar of myself, and the script for that AI avatar was generated with AI. Basically, when Ellis and I had a conversation about this session, probably about 6 weeks ago, Ellis, I took the transcript of that session from the AI note taker that I referenced in the first point, dropped it into a ChatGPT little bot I use that writes scripts for me, said, please write me like a under 2 minute script that can be used as an intro for this session. I took that script, plugged it into my AI avatar. It's a tool called HeyGen, and that video came out about 5 minutes later. Literally that later that afternoon, I sent that to Ellis and I said, let me know if something like this would work for your thing, thinking Ellis and Jennifer would come back to me and say, that's a cool idea, but that's not good enough or whatever. And they were like, no, that's perfect. We'll use that. And that's literally the video you just watched. So that was the full effort of that was maybe 5 minutes of labor on my time.
Which is incredible. And so I'm curious to see if anybody in chat would be willing to admit that they did not recognize that. I'll say that I had a spoiler, so I didn't know, but I'd just be curious if anybody would admit that they were surprised to learn that that was a fully AI generated video. But let's just dive right in because, as you know, these programs we could talk. You are so full of knowledge, and there's so many resources in roundtable technology. But as I said at the beginning, we're just starting to learn about it, and I would suspect that the folks who came this morning have a sense of what it can do, but they're probably at this place where it's like, where do I start? What do I have to know? And so, what are the top three ways nonprofits could use AI?
I mean, the easy stuff, right, is getting your staff trained on the basics of AI. This is the part that kind of frankly terrifies me, Jennifer, is that most nonprofits, fewer than 15% roughly, have really done any kind of formal training for their staff on using AI tools or implemented any kind of policy or guidelines. And a lot of people, arguably somewhere between 60 and 80% of staff, are using AI to perform work at your organizations. So that they're doing that without any guidance from you and without any safety training or anything like that. They may be exposing sensitive data. They may be getting outputs from AI that are false, that are hallucinations, that they're then sharing outward without realizing that. And the dangers of that, like I work a lot in risk management, like you're accepting almost all of the risk without doing anything to try to optimize the benefits that you're getting. And it's such a simple fix. It's just provide a training and a basic policy for your staff on this is the tool or these are the tools that we'd like you to use that are data protected for our organization, that are within our ecosystem of tools that we use that you can log into where we can understand them. And here's how we want you to use them in a very basic way. So what you asked me for three, I can certainly go into sort of like basics of thought partner when you have a problem that you want to think about. The latest models, which are referred to as reasoning models, are phenomenal at this, right? At just going back and forth and saying, help me think about this problem and give me ideas for it. I would say the second one is research. The latest models have functions called deep research that can do hours or even days worth of human research in 10 to 15 minutes on a particular topic. And then the third thing I would say is just teaching your staff very, very basic prompt. I hate the term because it sounds like it's intimidating. Prompt engineering. It's really just how to write effective prompts. And one thing that I can even share is I've made what's called a meta prompt. It's a prompt that makes good prompts for you. So you can just tell it some awful thing and it makes a phenomenal prompt that then you can use. And that's even better than learning how to do prompt engineering, because then you can just use that. So that's my quick answer.
Yeah, that's great. So Lindsay in chat has a great request, because I think what you're saying is really, really helpful. Safety policies definitely need to be thinking about that, making sure your organization has thought through even the ins and outs of even how your staff might be using it. And then once you get that taken care of, these three primary ways that could be used. I think what people are like, okay, well, so where do we go? Like, and so Lindsay's saying, except the I just Lindsay's saying, I would love to have Josh clarify which AI platforms he most recommends and what measures should be taken to protect privacy and sensitive. So in other words, where do people go? Like, what are the names of places where where do we even begin? What platforms do we use, and who can provide this training that you're talking about?
Absolutely. So starting with the last question, obviously RoundTable, we're happy to provide that training. My colleague Kim Snyder and myself have done now 4 different 6-part AI courses for TechSoup. Those are available as you can purchase them and provide them to your staff through TechSoup's courses archive, and you can look out for future courses as well. There is a plethora of free AI training out there for nonprofits. It's an embarrassment of riches. So it's really about finding the one that works for your organization. There is a lot of really good stuff out there. But those are 2 things I would quickly say. Also look to people in your organization. If you have anyone who raises their hand and says, I'm really using these tools and would love to like bring in my colleagues, I think that's not a bad place at all to start. Regarding the data protections, so I would start with, in terms of what tools to use, the ones that are already in your environment. So if you are a Microsoft organization, Copilot, which is Microsoft's AI tool, is already in your environment and already has the data protections that come with your Microsoft 365 license. It has the downside of probably being one of the least advanced models right now, but it is still incredibly capable. If you're a Google shop, Google's Gemini has made absolute leaps over the last year and is now, if not the leading model, certainly one of the leading models, and has extraordinary capabilities. And again, is included with certain limitations in your workspace license that you get as a nonprofit, and then comes with the data protections that you will want. If you want to use, there are 2 other models that I think are very much worth looking at, which are OpenAI's ChatGPT, which of course is the one everybody's familiar with, and then Anthropic's Claude, which you're probably a little less familiar with. Of the top tier right now, Gemini, Claude, and ChatGPT are kind of leapfrogging each other every month as to who's kind of the leading model, but they're also all better at different things. And so any one of those 3 is going to be absolutely fine for you, unless you're someone like me who's teaching it and needs to be kind of figuring out what they're all particularly good at. They're all exceptional. Around those models, you want to make sure you're paying for what's referred to as a Teams license at a minimum. Most of you have no need to go to enterprise level. It's going to be expensive and you don't need it. But if you pay for what's called a Teams account, then you have data controls at the organization level that will prevent staff from even being able to upload data that then gets used to train those models. And that is the big thing that you really, really want to avoid. Is right now, if I have like a free ChatGPT account and I'm using the default setting, which is that my data is being used to train OpenAI's future models, and I take a bunch of Maine Association data of all your donors and all your members and everything, and I upload that so I can run amazing reports on it, which is amazing to do. I have just exposed all of that data to OpenAI's training model. And if you haven't trained your staff on the fact that that's what happens, that could be happening. And that's what I'm really worried about for organizations.
And so Mary in the chat said, asked for you to say a bit more about how internal systems can be data protected to not share sensitive information. And Ellis is doing a great job of putting some of the various resources there. But am I understanding, Josh, is that that's what that training's for, is to take you through those protections?
Yeah, I mean, your managed service provider, your IT people are the ones who will want to set that. And what you want to do is make sure that you have policy at your organization and training that says these are the tools that you use and only these tools. No other tools are authorized for use at the Maine Association of Nonprofits. You cannot upload data to any other tools other than the ones that we say. Okay, they're absolutely not. And we don't want outputs from any of these other systems being used in Maine Association work. So if you want to use it for your own thinking, your own whatever, that's fine. But the models that we are approving, right, for our work, whether you're inputting, uploading data or outputting, I'm outputting a report that I'm now going to share, all of that data you want to make sure is protected. So you don't want that in a model that's being used where it's being used to retrain. So those are settings within those different systems, Microsoft, Google, OpenAI, and Anthropic. And by making sure that you're in organizational managed accounts, then the administrators of those systems, the people who set them up, will set the data controls appropriately. I don't want individual people who are not technicians to have to worry about that. It's not a good situation if you're telling your staff, make sure to go into this setting in this platform and toggle this thing off, because now you are trusting that they're going to do that. And in my view, that's just a bad plan. I hope
Josh,
that answers.
can you touch base just quickly on, our main nonprofit community, most of them are very small. And so Susan's saying, many small nonprofits don't have IT people sort of at their fingertips. And even for MAMP with 8 FTE, I remember when we, went into, it took a lot to decide to go into a long-term relationship with an IT company because it's an expense, right? So how do you counsel really small nonprofits to make sure that they're protecting themselves, but not over, like, how do they balance the resource question?
Yeah, so I'm dropping in a link right now. So I made myself available for 30 or 60-minute pro bono sessions to try to help people with this or other challenges that they have. So certainly I'm happy to be a resource to as many folks as I can.
Thanks, Josh.
Christian from the team here at RoundTable is here. I'm sure he will tell you RoundTable is happy to take a call with you, even if you're small and you're not likely to be a customer. And in a 30 or 60-minute, what's ostensibly like a sales or a prospect call, we're happy to answer those questions for you and say good luck to you. Because our view is like you might be a small organization today that can't use our services, but maybe 5 years from now, you'll remember, oh, RoundTable was nice and thoughtful and helpful to me that day. And then maybe you will be a customer someday. And we're planning to be here for a very long time. So we're absolutely fine with that. And it helps us learn about the kinds of issues that different organizations are dealing with. And so that's probably the easiest way I would have you start. And then, of course, using these tools to get help. Increasingly, these tools are as good or better than most humans at giving you help with questions, especially if you clarify your role. I cannot tell you how often I go into one of the AI tools that I'm using and say, I need help with this. And I really want you to understand that I'm a complete idiot. I know nothing about this topic, and I need you to walk me through it step by step as though I know nothing. And I get extraordinary, step-by-step advice for the particular thing. Like, how do I go turn on data privacy protections for my team in ChatGPT? Answer me that question, but think of me as a 5-year-old, right?
That's great. Thank you so much. Josh, I could talk to you for a long time, but you've already been so generous with your time. And I do want to introduce our teammate, John. So thank you, Josh. And thank you for your offer of supporting us. Roundtable has been an amazing partner. And so at this point, I'd love to invite John, who is a member of the MAMP team. Hi, John. How are you doing today?
Hey Jen, I'm doing well. It's good to be on the other side of MANP Connects.
I know. Congratulations for making it to the other side of the curtain. Before you start talking, I just want to highlight Ellis has put in chat, and Molly has also put in some really great resources. But the our partner, the Maryland Nonprofit Association, did a really great partnership with an organization called N10, and they have a whole amazing library of resources that Molly has connected to. Ellis has mentioned an event that's coming up. And these are free resources for MAMP members because we're all part of the National Council of Nonprofits. So keep your eye out for that too. They spent a whole year investing in figuring out what nonprofits need to understand AI, and so we'll be sending out more information about those resources. But again, it's going to be a free resource for MAMP members that we're excited about. So keep your eye out for that. Okay, thanks, John. I appreciate that. So I'm going to launch right in. You don't come from a tech background, but a few weeks ago, I got wind through the halls here at MAMP that you were starting to engage with technology to figure out how we could be more effective and efficient. And yeah, what how did you do that?
Yeah, I'm happy to chat a little bit more about that. So like you mentioned, I don't really have much of a tech background, but my role involves a lot of event coordination and communication and a lot of admin tasks. So last summer, I kind of took on learning some more about AI and tech, and we had kind of a perfect storm of events really that led to starting that learning journey. For starters, all the folks here in the audience, our members, had been reaching out, asking a lot of questions and guidance sort of for navigating this complex landscape we're in now. So we wanted to be here to help. It was also kind of the right timing to start learning. We had some new projects coming up, as well as we were undergoing some staff transitions last summer that were going to require some additional workload on myself and some others, the possibility of outsourcing some of our work. So it seemed like a good opportunity to get curious about what AI could do. And then I kind of had what I would consider a light bulb use case where you hear about all the great things that AI and tech can do and how it can improve your workflow and your life and all that. But it doesn't really click until you find that one specific use case where you sort of get curious more about what AI can do, and it starts to sort of connect the dots about what can be done with different tools. So yeah, sort of having that last summer really helped kick off my learning journey.
That's really cool. So what are some of the challenges you faced and tell us a little more about how you're managing this process and maybe give us an example of what specifically you've done.
Yeah, so I want to sort of preface by I'm focusing more on sort of the automation side of technology rather than the AI side that Joshua was talking a lot about. But so I've started using a service called Zapier, which essentially lets a bunch of different tech services that we use connect together and sort of share information and automate some different processes. So implementing that across our system has been very helpful. One of the bigger tasks that I've been able to automate with it is sort of tracking our member engagement with our different events and partner benefits that we offer, since we get a lot of different metrics coming in from a lot of different sources. So now we're able to sort of add them all into our one CRM database in one place and make it easy to reference, which definitely frees up a lot of time for us to sort of analyze that and figure out what we can do to provide benefits to our members better. In terms of kind of the challenges that I've faced with that, there's definitely a lot of noise in the sort of tech AI sector. There's just a lot of news to sift through, a lot of tools to try, and I've definitely found some issues with analysis paralysis kind of in the process of that. So I found it pretty helpful to stick to some of the more well-known tools, like some of the ones shared in chat and some of the ones Josh mentioned. I've also found it pretty helpful to sort of keep up with new developments and get some ideas as I go through sort of small doses from some trusted sources. There's some good email newsletters that we'll share and follow up. And then I like to keep up with some different panel webinars from places like Zapier and RoundTable, so I can get some good ideas to file away for the future without getting caught up in the noise.
So how would you advise someone who is, our members, as we've already said, most of our members don't have lots of staff or certainly not an IT person who's right down the hall, and may not have policies. And, that was one thing that you've been really great about, John, is you went into this knowing about all the ethical and safety considerations. And I just want hats off to you, John, for leading that for our team and recognizing all of the complexities of using these tools. You've been really thoughtful about that in terms of the fact that MANP itself needs to start developing better policies around the use of these tools. How would you recommend, if someone's on this call who wants to learn more, what would you recommend how they get started?
Thanks. Yeah, in terms of the sort of ethical and policy side of AI, that's still something we're figuring out, like you mentioned, and is something that we look forward to having some continued conversations about as we go. But in terms of just sort of getting started with automation and tech, I would say sort of trying out some of the free tools that the services offer. While you definitely, once you're starting to implement it, you want to start to explore the team options to make sure you have those data privacy settings in place. You can start sort of playing around with anonymized data sets or less sensitive information using some of the free tools. And that's sort of a good way to get an idea of what's possible with the different tools. And I've definitely found just even asking ChatGPT, hey, I've got this idea for a workflow that I'm looking to implement. Can you give me some ideas of how to accomplish it with either these tools, or if it's not going to work with these tools, is there some other way that I can do it? It's been super helpful in sort of helping me discover what's possible and connecting the dots between the different tools. And then, like I mentioned as well, sort of passively keeping up with blogs and newsletters and just sort of webinars can get some good ideas to inspire ways that you can use it. And then finally, I want to give Roundtable another shout out for their services that they offer. But we do also have a number of consultants in our business finder that are always happy to support nonprofits and can help sort of you sift through that noise and figure out some solutions that might be helpful to implement in your organization.
That's great. I know, John, I'm gonna actually invite Josh to join us on this one because I think this is a really important question, or a couple of things that I would love to dive into a little bit. And I'm going to start with you though, because I know you've been a great leader in introducing AI to us at MAMP, and you've mentioned this as well. And our friend Jess Burton has brought this up. She attended the recent Maine Philanthropy Center conference where people were talking about AI and how it also involves the fact that that's being developed, not being developed with an equity lens, and that potentially what could be what's being said is that there's a narrow set of perspectives that are being used to create this technology. And so I just wondered, I think you've thought a little bit about this. I know you don't have any answers, but I just wondered if you would address that. And then I wanted to ask Josh that same question, because I think it's really important to getting people comfortable with it, or at least know what they're getting into.
Yeah, absolutely. That is definitely one of the sort of reservations I've had around using AI to generate different materials and sort of use as a thought partner is the fact that oftentimes the sources that the AIs are using for training material is a bit of a black box. And it often is built on, sort of white Western culture where you sort of have to question whose voices and perspectives and cultural norms are sort of being excluded from the conversation. And so that's definitely something that we need to have further discussions about as a sector. And if you are starting to use AI for sort of getting things that might require those perspectives, just sort of keeping that in mind. So I hope that we can have future conversations on that. I wish I had a better answer at this time, but I'm curious to hear Josh's thoughts on
Thank-
that.
Thanks, John. Yeah, Josh, have you guys thought about this?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been dealing with it all the time. I would say it's gotten better than it was. I dropped a link in the chat to a site for Dr. Joy Buolamwini out of the MIT Digital Lab. She has a book called Unmasking AI and talks a lot about this. There's a lot of good work being done. I saw the Weapons of Math Destruction. That's another great resource. So there are a range of problems around this, and I'm not going to pretend to understand all of them, but a lot of it has to do with training data, that these models are largely trained on data from the internet, from the world, and of course that data reflects the systemic bias that exists in the world, right? So if the famous example is if you ask it to screen, there was actually an AI program, I'm trying to remember, it was some investment bank that had an AI that wanted to screen candidates, and basically it just kept pulling white rugby players because that matched the training data of people this firm had hired. Does that mean that white rugby players are the best investment banker candidates? Probably not, but that's who they'd been hiring, and that's what they trained their algorithm on. And so that's what it was picking out of the resumes, right? So that's
Mhm.
what happens. And again, this is why I think training is so important, because if you're using these tools and you don't understand that, and you ask a kind of question like, can you give me some suggestions for this, or give me a rationale for that? And you don't understand that there's probably bias inherent in the training data that the system is using, and you get an answer and just believe that that's truth, then you're just perpetuating the biases that were in that data to begin with. And
Mhm.
that, to me, is the core of the problem. Dr. Joy Buolamwini refers to it as the pale male data problem, which she comes out of that a lot of the machine learning algorithms that were used for autonomous vehicles to detect things basically didn't detect black faces as well, meaning it was literally more dangerous to be a black person, like with Waymo's driving around, because so much
Mhm.
of the training data involved paler people. And so that's just one really clear and horrific example.
Yeah. Wow, that's really obviously really, really important. And so, just for the purposes of today's conversation, what is striking to me is remember that it's a tool and that you have control of the tool. And even if you do one of our participants said that they already had AI Copilot create a policy for them, which great, like gives you something to look at. But then, sort of that trust but verify idea that like, or in this case, be grateful and verify, maybe not fully 100% trust, right? That you might get a policy, but then you need to go to those sources, whether it's attorneys or your IT folks or trusted resources to verify that that's what you want to use. And so it sounds like it's very similar in this case where being aware that those biases are in it. They are in those technologies and so need to be used carefully. Is that pretty much a good way of summarizing? Be cautious, but also know that there are some really useful ways to expedite getting some work done. Would you agree with that?
This
Yeah,
is why I just keep saying training and policies, training and
yeah,
policies, because your staff are doing this whether you want them to or not.
yeah,
This is
yeah,
happening. Like it,
yeah, yeah. And Becca, that's great. Treat it like your automated intern, not the expert, right?
Yeah, I say that all
Um,
the time. I say working with these tools is like working with 19, like a whole team of 19-year-old interns that are brilliant and eager and infinitely patient and have access to the internet and have zero, and I mean zero common sense. And it's really confusing as an interaction because you're not used to dealing with something that is that smart, that has that little common sense. But that
right.
is what it is. I have this I'll try to say this very quickly. I do a lot of data analysis and data visualizations using these tools. And so I have a lot of prompts where I have processes with like some of my security clients where I download a whole bunch of data and then create a security dashboard for them. Like, here's the status of everything. And it works. And I do it week after week. And then one week I was looking at the data with the client and realized it was just totally wrong and had made up names. And when I looked back over my interactions, right, this is with Claude. Claude was just like, I couldn't access like one of these spreadsheets, but I knew you really wanted this report. So I just made up some data and put it in there. So I had to like update my prompt to be like, don't do that. like, no, right? That's what I mean. Like, and they'll just, and they're really inconsistent. They change over time. So these are living technology organisms in a way. I'm telling you, it is unlike anything you've ever worked with before in wonderful ways and in horrifying ways.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much. We are going to start wrapping up. I know we just scratched the surface, but I hope this has helped people get a little bit of a picture of what we're talking about here. And if you guys are interested in learning more, please make sure you let MANP know, because we want to be able to be a good resource for you. But I do need to start wrapping up. And Sarah, we did notice your question about energy consumption, and it sounds like Josh has put a resource in there about being eco-conscious and the use of AI, because there obviously are a lot of considerations that have come up in our conversation today. So thank you again to Joshua, and thank you, John, for introducing AI to MANP and being such a great leader. And I'm sure Ellis and John are happy to have you guys continue to reach out to us and ask questions. So please don't hesitate, stay in touch with MANP. I'm going to my closing sheet to make sure I don't forget anything. We do have a MANP Connects on June 20th, and this one is titled "Put Your Oxygen Mask On First." It's about managing the chaos right now, as we've been out there talking with our nonprofits and various communities. We know that people are feeling a little beleaguered and a little burnt out. So the topic for next month is going to be about taking care of ourselves. We also have a program coming up on June 25th called Learning to Listen. The trainer is a great resource for having good, healthy conversations, which is part of taking care of ourselves, right? And we also have our upcoming community forum in person at the Strand in Rockland. So if you haven't registered for that and you'd like to join us for community forum on Wednesday morning, we'd love to see you there. And
There's a
I
Strand
think
bookstore in Rockland? A Strand bookstore?
no, it's a theater.
Oh, the theater. Okay, sorry. I was just like,
Okay.
that's a very like New York institution. I didn't know there was one
Oh,
in
no,
Portland.
no, no,
Okay.
no. It's the theater. It's the famous
Gotcha.
Strand Theater, Josh. It's
Oh,
not
I'm
the
so sorry.
famous
Okay.
Strand bookstore. Yeah.
My apologies.
But thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, good question. John, you will share out the chat with the recording. Great, thank you so much. Okay, yeah, thanks, Heather. We really appreciate it, and it's great to see everybody. Have a good rest of the long weekend. I hope everybody gets to enjoy the weekend. Stay dry. Happy Nor'easter Day. Thanks again, guys. Bye.
Thanks all.